runs out at 5, and that's 60. As you can see from the Race Logic Performance Box Touch, we did 0 to 30 in 3.36 and 0 to 60 in 8.32. Suzuki definitely need a new 0 to 60 guy. So, in case you didn't guess it by the title, this is the Suzuki Swift Sport. Now, based off the 0 to 60, I know what you're thinking, it's not rapid, but I'll tell you something for free. When this thing is going, it's a lot of fun. Now, before we go talking about its performance facts and figures, I want you to guess how much horsepower this thing roughly has. Now, let me show you round it quickly. On the front, you can see we've got loads of bits wrapped in carbon fibre. Moving round to the side, you can see it's on 17-inch wheels. There's loads of carbon fibre again wrapped on the side. And just something to note, and I don't know whether this is the telltale sign, but it's got a rear caliper. On some cars like this, by that I mean small hatchbacks that are not really hugely overrated with power, they don't really have that. They just normally have a drum brake, but you've got a caliper on the back there, just something to note. And now round the rear, where things get really tasty, you can see it's got a single exhaust tailpipe, but on both sides. So round the rear is really where you think it's a bit different. Now let me tell you the facts and the figures. 1.4 litre turbocharged engine, 129 horsepower and 235 newton meters of torque. Now that doesn't sound like much, but bearing in mind that this thing weighs around 1,000 kilograms, it's quick. Power apparently comes in around 1,500 RPM, but I've noticed it comes in around 3,000, and for me that's really where you want it. You don't want no low down torque with a car like this. You want it right in the mid-range. That way as soon as you change gear and you're up in the revs, it keeps giving you more. Let's go out there. This thing is a joy to drive. Trust me, daddy. So as mentioned, it's not got loads of power, but you can really feel how light it is, which means when it's in the right rev range, this thing is a joke. Now, as I said, when you go on a manufacturer's website and you look at all of the facts and the figures, it does tend to say where the boost comes in, if it is, I don't know, a turbocharged car, and where you get most of that torque. However, with the Swift, it says it comes in quite early, but now we're at 2.5 RPM, and as soon as it hits 3, you get a pleasant shove, and it just wants to fly. And it is honestly very, very reminiscent of an i20N. Now I know it's a totally different car. The i20N's more of a weekday / track car, but this could hold its own with only 129 horsepower. Now again, I personally feel this is down to its lightness. Something to note as well, which I really do need to get better at, is there is no rev matching. There is no button to press for it to be in sport. This is just a sporty hot hatch. Now, in terms of it being a hot hatch, it's quick, it's fun. You can use it easily day to day, and we'll touch on that later. But in terms of its day-to-day capabilities, it is a bit harsh. Now, with any sort of sport variant of any car, you are going to find the suspension a lot firmer than the standard variant, but this is doable. And where I did drive it day to day, I was at one point thinking, oh, it's a manual, it's a bit annoying, but this is where it comes into its own. On a weekend, nice and early, roads are empty, plenty of fun. Now there's two things that I really want to touch on: the manual box and the fact that it is a hybrid, because Suzuki claimed that this should do 57.6 mpg, and on a 30-minute commute to work, which was roughly around 6 to 8 miles, I saw around 47. I did get into the 50s, but when I got into the stop-start traffic, I only saw 47 once I reached my destination. Now, if this was an automatic, I assume that it would have better mpg, because once I take my foot off the accelerator here, with it being a manual, the engine braking is quite strong, which means it charges only for a little bit, because with a self-charging hybrid, how it works is when you drive along at certain speeds, it charges the battery, but at the same time when you let off the accelerator, as I'm doing now, it charges the battery even more. Again, if you are driving a 1.4 turbocharged engine and you're seeing 47 mpg with motorway and dual carriageway and all of that included, it definitely works. But you don't buy the Swift Sport to just focus on all of that mpg. Sure, it's a bonus. What you buy the Swift Sport for is a little rev match, a little bit of open road, and loads of fun. And it gives you that in an abundance. Now, we touched on comfort earlier on, bearing in mind inner city bumps, all of that, you have to be going at the right speeds. If not, again, you will complain. But seats wise, I've got to say, Suzuki, you are some naughty undercover devils. This thing really does hug you and support you when going around the bends. How it does it, I've got no idea. Do I love it? Oh yes. Now, something that I feel it could probably improve on is having an actual button to activate the full EV mode like most hybrids do. Why it doesn't, I'm not too sure. I have had the Suzuki Across, and that had a button that made it dedicated hybrid, and then it had another button you could go between a normal plug-in hybrid. It had loads of modes and loads of ways to change how it activates. But with this, it's more about it just choosing when it wants to be efficient, and that's not too hard. Again, this is a 6-speed manual, so when you are in 6th gear, you are going to see the best MPG. However, something to note is when you do want to get to 70, you're going to sit at around 2,500 RPM, which isn't the best RPM to sit at when you're trying to be efficient. But again, 1.4 litre, you can't complain. So now, who is this car for? It's for somebody looking for a nice first car, loads of space in the back for passengers. Fully grown adults can sit in the back, no problem. A big enough boot for you to fit a tiny-ish pram. A car that's not too quick to get yourself in any real trouble. And something to take out on the weekend that you could probably play around with, I don't know, in a Bath 595, or like I said, with the right driver, at i20N, because boy, this thing is a joy to play with. I've got to give it to them. So like any mini hatchback on the market, how much fun factor does it have? 3rd gear, up this little bump. I've got to get better at shifting. I know you guys probably hear me over revving it slightly when I change. That left toe's a bit too heavy on the old clutch. This has got probably the most fun factor I've experienced in a very long while, and that is definitely due to the weight. A curb weight of 1,000 kilograms. Bearing in mind, duck goose. Bearing in mind, I weigh 90 kg, so imagine 10 of me sitting on a fence. That's how much this car weighs. 10 average human beings. If you weigh less than that, well done to ya, well done. I'm trying to get down to 82, but I can't. I love pie too much. So overall summary of the Suzuki Swift Sport: if you're thinking of getting a Mini Cooper, drive this first. If you're thinking of getting an Abarth, drive this first. If you're thinking of getting a Mini Cooper S, drive this first. If you're thinking of getting a Up GTI, definitely drive this first. You just can't go wrong. I look around the cabin and I think it's got automatic lights. It doesn't have auto wipers. You've got foldable mirrors, heated mirrors. You've got lane assist. You've got automatic controlled cruise control. You've got loads of features here with loads of value for money. Wired CarPlay. It definitely does what you need, and at the price, you can't beat it. It's not German in terms of quality, but if you are really nitpicking, you will find these things. But having lived with this car for as long as I have and done around 500 miles, I really don't see any real issues with this car. Where the real fun comes in, like I said, is once it gets up in the revs, kind of dies at 5. That's where you get all the fun, and this definitely offers it. There we go. Oh, please. I'm so glad we had dry weather today, because it was meant to be torrential downpour. So I'm a very happy bunny right now, fully experiencing this car. And like I said, I can tell you something for free, you gotta drive this. It's a hoot, an absolute hoot. So yes guys, that has been the video on the Suzuki Swift Sport Hybrid, an absolute dream of a mini hot hatch to take out and drive, especially on a weekend. This is definitely one not to be missed. But guys, if you have enjoyed this video, please smash the thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care and God bless.